Hi everyone, welcome to our speaker series tonight. I'm Parul Khosla. I'm the Executive Director of South Asians in Sports. If we haven't met before, if this is your first time attending one of our events, welcome. It's great to have you here. I do see a lot of other familiar faces in the room, so hello to everybody else that we know that are members of SAIS. It's awesome to have you guys here. We're really excited for the speaker series session tonight. I feel like this is probably one of the most requested topics that people have asked us to do a session on. Everybody wants to talk about cricket in this community, obviously, so we're really excited to be able to bring you two super impressive leaders in the cricket space to give you the full rundown on how we're growing cricket in America, which is going to be super interesting. But before we do that, I just want to start off with a little bit of an intro of South Asians in Sports. There are some people on this call that might be new to us and don't know who we are. So I'm just going to quickly introduce who we are. We are a nonprofit community. Our mission is to really empower, connect, and amplify South Asian professionals and athletes across the sports industry. We operate primarily across North America, so most of our members are in the US and Canada, and then we recently launched a chapter in London a couple of months ago. And so we're growing into more of a global community. We have over 1,600 members in our community around the world, which is amazing, and about 200 members on our premium membership, which I'll talk about in a second. And it's really awesome to just be a part of a community where we all come from the same background and are navigating this crazy industry together. Who knew there were 1,600 of us in this space, and there's more that aren't even involved yet. So it's really cool to be able to bring this community together. The QR code on the screen here is just a link to our website. It's how you can become a member. You can join for free. Where you can join our premium membership, which I'll talk about in a second. But we do host a lot of events, both virtual and in person. Most of our in-person events are in New York, Toronto, and now London. And then we do also do events in other cities like LA, Chicago, like when different industry events are happening. So we do activate kind of globally in that sense. And then we do these virtual speaker series at least 6 to 8 times a year, either monthly or semi-monthly. And we bring together leaders in the South Asian community across the industry to come and share their knowledge and talk about what they're doing and how they're impacting sports, which is really cool. So if you're not already a member, again, you can just join for free on our website. You'll get our emails and invites to all of our events and all the cool things that we're doing. So you definitely should do that. And then I also just briefly wanted to talk a little bit about how you can support SAIS. Like I mentioned, we are a nonprofit community, so we fully thrive off of member dues and donations. And so I just wanted to put this little call out here on ways that you can support us if you're not already. We do have a premium membership. This is a dues paying membership. It's $59 a year, US dollars. To be a member, and all of our premium members get access to our community platform where they can see our full directory, they can message other people in the community, and they also get access to our biannual mentorship program that we run in the fall and the spring. We have about like 40 something people that get matched in our mentorship program every twice a year. You get matched directly to a senior leader in the sports industry to get mentorship from and directly learn from. And so it's really valuable signature program that we run through SAIS. We also give out like free tickets to conferences and other industry events. We do programming for premium members and have other kinds of like perks and discounts and just random things that come up throughout the year. We have about 200 members on here already. And so if you want to support, this is a great way to support us. If you're not interested in the premium membership, or if you're already on one, you can also donate directly to SAIS. The biggest thing that we're fundraising for right now is our summit. We're planning the first ever conference for South Asian leaders in sports. We've never convened in this way before in North America. And so we're bringing together all the leaders that are doing cool, amazing things across sports. We're planning this conference for mid-2027 right now. And so any support, any donation that you can provide would be hugely beneficial for us. It will directly go to putting this conference together, which is a highly requested event from all of our members as well. And it would just really help us get this off the ground. So those are a couple ways you can support. I'll also send these in an email afterwards, so you don't have to like rush to do anything right now. But just wanted to share that. And then we'll get to the reason why we're all here. I'm really excited to host Venu and Vijay. Vijay is the co-founder of Major League Cricket. Venu is co-founder of DreamCricket. I'm going to just hand it off to him to do a more proper intro of both of them, but really excited to hear from this amazing panel, and I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks a lot, Parul, and thanks SAIS for having cricket on the agenda. It's truly an honor and a privilege to have Vijay Srinivasan on the Zoom today. This is a very exciting week for the initiative that Vijay has out there. It's Major League Cricket, and it's Major League Cricket season. In fact, games are being played as we speak. There might be something in prep, in about 2 hours or so, maybe. And as I utter those words, we actually have 22 participants on the call, just enough to make 2 cricket teams so we can have a game. So game on now. Let me introduce the assembly to Vijay. Vijay Srinivasan, I've known for, I would say, about 20 years. I've known of him way before that. As luck would have it, we are of the same vintage. We go back to the 90s grad cohort, and he was here even before that. Vijay is a former engineer/scientist. He then pivoted his career and got into media, founding Willow TV, which is the world's first streamer of cricket and perhaps one of the world's first streaming sites for any sport. He then, took his entrepreneurship another level. More recently, after exiting Willow, he founded the American Cricket Enterprise, which is the parent entity that launched Major League Cricket. As you probably know, Willow was acquired by the Times of India Group in 2016, and he didn't waste much time to start Willow TV, to start Major League Cricket. He started laying the foundation for it together with his co-founder Samir Mehta, and then by 2023, Major League Cricket was already operational. Major League Cricket is a 6-franchise league today. It's going to expand soon, and we'll find out more about that. And Vijay played an instrumental role in raising $120 million in funding for MLC. And maybe you've read this in the news, but those early investors include the likes of Satya Nadella, Shah Rukh Khan, and Shantanu Narayan. So some really illustrious folks from the Indian community, the South Asian community, are seed investors in MLC, and some of them are also franchise owners in MLC today. Let me introduce myself for a minute. I started in cricket many years ago, in roughly 1996. And so I've been in cricket now for 30 plus years. And I played a role in the founding of the world's first fantasy cricket portal. And subsequently, I did a lot of things that were kind of pioneering in a way, but I played the ball too early. My dad always said that about my cricket. I played the shot too early. And everything I started, I was too early. But what I have to show for my 30 years is essentially one of the larger cricket academies in the country. We operate out of 3 locations in New Jersey. I also co-own a minor league cricket team. We'll talk about minor leagues shortly. And I'm a owner and an early investor in Major League as well. And in that, I'm proud to also be partners with Vijay. So that is a brief introduction of my cricketing life. Obviously, it's a side hustle for me. My main job is on Wall Street. So that gets the introductions out of the way. Vijay, you can unmute yourself, and we can start with a little bit of kind of trivia and history of cricket in the US for most of the folks who are especially new to the sport. Perhaps you saw your parents watch cricket, or perhaps you are from South Asia and you kind of grew up with cricket. But breaking news, cricket has been played in this country for well over 200 years. The first documented cricket game in the US is from 1705 in Richmond. And if you fast forward, not by a lot, to 1776, George Washington played cricket here in New Jersey. And a guy called George Ewing played on that team, and he wrote about it. He documented the cricket game. Coincidentally, George Ewing was the father of Thomas Ewing, who was USA's first Interior Secretary. So cricket's history and historic ties with the US are very, very strong. I would also say that cricket was in the States before we were the States, right? So, it's actually something that was coined by Al Reeves, who is one of the founding fathers of cricket in the Philadelphia area. So cricket's been around. However, some things, in history intervened, and namely a country cousin of cricket called rounders grew in popularity in the mid 1800s, and although cricket was the earliest professional sport and one of the earliest intercollegiate sports in the US, the early cricketers, especially professional cricketers, switched to baseball. And if you went to Cooperstown today and you went to the Baseball Hall of Fame, all of the early Hall of Famers in baseball were actually cricketers first. They were imports, some of them were US born. So that is the history of cricket. More recent history, of course, starts probably in the 90s. And as you know, the numbers of South Asians in the US picked up drastically in the 1990s. A lot of it has to do with Y2K. It also has to do with immigration, for educational reasons. So for higher education, master's degrees and so on. So that sets the table for what we'll talk about today, which is when Vijay arrived in the US, and I also arrived in the US around the same time, maybe a few years later. And in the colleges of the US, the dawn of the internet era, it was called the Internet Relay Chat, right, Vijay? IRC.
IRC, yeah.
IRC. So until then, if you wanted to follow a cricket game, you had to buy a subscription to the Hindu, and then that came once a week or maybe once a month, I forget. And we watched cricket scores on there. But with IRC, we were in colleges and you could actually follow a cricket game live. Okay, this was the early internet. So there was no archiving of scores or anything. You had to ask for a score, and somebody, if they were on the IRC, would post the score. And that's how it started. That's my earliest memory of cricket in the US. Vijay, I mean, you came here a few years prior to me. So
Yeah.
was there already cricket when you arrived?
Um, so I guess there was a very active sort of like playing community that would try and sort of reconnect with the sport that they grew up with. And this was mostly, small pockets around the country, people playing weekend cricket. But there was, at least I came here, I'm not, you've used dates like the 1700s and so on, and, you're making me feel like dinosaur here, but just to add to your historical sort of tidbits. Actually the first international cricket match was held in the U.S. It was in, I think,
New
1844,
Jersey, yeah.
USA versus Canada, which was actually advertised as a match between the US versus the British Empire, and Canada representing the British Empire. And that game was actually held in New York. And for various reasons, cricket didn't. This bastardized version of cricket, baseball, sort of became the preferred method of playing a bat ball sport. But cricket had a huge opportunity to be a mainstream sport in the US. And when I got here, I came here for my undergrad to study after having played cricket all my life. And I was like any other kid growing up in India, I was um, just you're typically a one sport person. I mean, cricket is there, and then everything else exists as a sort of a you know lowly second. And I consumed cricket news, I consumed everything. And then when I came here, uh, it was almost like a void. I mean, I went from this huge sort of you know uh, just a life of everything around cricket, to a world where information, even relative to cricket, you would hear about matches a few days after they were held. And then, like you said, Venu, the internet sort of changed a lot of that, but even that was in this very sort of hidden community of internet relay chat users, IRC. And for me, that became sort of my source of information, and to connect with other people around the US. There were a lot of like uh, enterprising people who would try to give ball by ball text based updates of matches happening in their part of the world. And that was my way to sort of reconnect to live cricket. And I think that was my life for the most part. The only cricket you could really watch were the World Cups, and those were broadcasts on these satellite platforms. And when today when you talk about satellite, it's like these little dishes with Starlink is the closest, I mean, the newest thing. But the previous thing was companies like Dish Network and DirecTV. You could get a smaller dish in your house, but none of that could get you cricket. You needed a massive uh, you know 10-foot dish, which was the size of, like, it weighed like hundreds of pounds. And I remember when I was an undergrad, I actually bought one of those dishes through our university subsidizing it, welded that dish to a wheelbarrow, and then I would actually drive it around wherever I could, set it up, and then during the World Cup, and then we would watch. I was actually towing a wheelbarrow with a 10-foot dish to watch cricket. So that was the lay of the land, if you will, through the 90s when I was a student, and then I started my career in the tech world, and that was how things were till 2002-ish. When
Did you play cricket at NCSU or Duke?
I did play a lot of cricket. I helped form a pretty organized league there on the East Coast. It eventually became the Mid-Atlantic Cricket League. It was based in North Carolina, and then there was which sort of evolved to the town of Morrisville in North Carolina, building a beautiful cricket ground that MLC uses now. It has an amazing sort of community around it. And honestly, everything around the growth of cricket in this US has been because of this growth of the South Asian community. I mean, anything you see, whether it be on the broadcast side or infrastructure, things we've done with MLC and so on are directly sort of linked to the efforts of the South Asian community. So, I mean, that's no surprise, but really a lot of us, like myself, maybe like you, Venu, as well, this is a sort of a way to reconnect to a sport that many of us grew up with. And, for me, I love every sport. I mean, I watch basketball and football with as much passion and as I do cricket. But it you know it was like a sort of a situation where we have a community in this country of Willow, our broadcast platform. Last I knew, before we exited, we were in about 4.5 million homes. And that's a that in the size of the overall cable and satellite market in the US, it's small, but it's meaningful enough. 4.5 million homes is now a significant number, and it led to Willow being launched on major cable and satellite platforms. And again, if you just look back at the demographics and the census and so on, it tracks exactly to how the power of the South Asian community has grown in this country. I mean, when I say power, it's more like, obviously everyone knows it's the wealthiest demographic in the country and so on, the highest educated and so on. But it also got to a point where people started listening to what this community had to say, whether that meant people in the Morrisville community lobbying their local town council to build them a cricket stadium, or whether that be leagues in the Dallas area getting grounds allocated to them to play cricket on weekends. And for us, some of the significant things are convincing the city of Grand Prairie, which is a suburb of Dallas, to give us a existing baseball stadium and converting it to cricket. So in some sense, the tables have turned. We took a baseball stadium that they couldn't get enough use out of, repurposed it for cricket, invested a lot of money into it, and had the 2024 Cricket World Cup come to the US and be played in that stadium. So, right. Yeah, I mean, rambling answer. I don't know if I even answered what you originally asked.
I think you've more than answered the question.
Yeah.
But I had a follow-up to that.
Sure.
At what point did you kind of say, okay, I'm going to do this as my career? Like, at what point did what gave you the confidence to say, I think this world's ready, especially North America is ready for a streaming offering?
Yeah, so I mean, in 2002, I was sort of in between things. I had one very successful company in the tech space, another successful company that went IPO, and then was a victim of the internet bubble being burst in a very sort of spectacular fashion in 2002. So the obvious thing would have been for me to just figure out what to do next in the tech space, and I think that would have made my parents happy and all the standard South Asian things. But in that interim period, I did want to also watch cricket. So there were certain events that were happening that were very significant in the world of cricket. And if you look back at 2002, that was also the time where, as an Indian cricket fan, India was sort of planting its flag as sort of the dominant, not cricket team, but dominant economic sort of machine in the world of cricket. There was you could sense that India was going to be the center of gravity for cricket going forward. And I, sitting here in between things, I was looking to watch one of these events. It was this the NatWest event, which India actually, in a very dramatic and spectacular fashion, won it in England, and really changed a lot of things in terms of perception of how Indians saw their team as being sort of a force in the world of cricket, and nobody in the US wanted to show that event. I called up practically every cable and satellite company. Nobody had any interest in cricket, and so Willow sort of formed out of that. Like, I mean, it was more a interest in watching cricket for myself, and Samir Mehta and I came together in 2002. And it was in the darkest of times if you were an internet entrepreneur at that time. The bubble had burst, and, shit had hit the fan, and, companies were shutting overnight. And so Samir and I said, look, let's try this streaming thing for a few months. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with it? And we streamed an event, India versus New Zealand, and chose the name Willow because, for those people that don't know, I think somebody's dog is named Parul. I think Parul said that. But in our world, the cricket bats are made from the English willow tree, typically. And in my tech world at that time, a lot of the successful companies were named after trees. And so, I just felt like picking a good tree name would be a good thing. And
Juniper and sycamore and
it was like a litany of tree names. Not all of them were successful, but Willow seemed like a good one, and most cricket fans know what Willow means. So we launched Willow. I bought the domain willow.tv, and we streamed this event. And of course, there was no marketing and so on. We were using undergrads all around the country to distribute flyers around the country. We had undergrads riding New York taxi cabs and leaving pieces of paper talking about India, New Zealand in those cabs and giving it to cab drivers and things like that. And then we launched, and we, like you said, Venu, to my knowledge, we were probably the first sport to be streamed on a paid basis in the US. And every server that we could cobble together at that time crashed. I mean, the number of people who signed up overwhelmed us, which was both good and bad. It was just two of us literally doing everything. And so we had to, for the second match, we somehow ramped up our capacity, again sold out. And so at that time, I think we had an inkling that maybe this is more than a hobby. And I think we kept it as more than a hobby for probably 3 years going forward from there. Just, every 3 months we would recommit to doing it until it became something that was so well known, at least in the cricket community. And there was enough of a sort of, we had enough media rights, we had enough recognition in the global cricket space that the US is now a meaningful media market.
right.
And people
It's the third or fourth largest media market now.
Today, it's probably the third or fourth largest media market in the world. But I think that I would say somewhere in the 2004, 2005 timeframe, I felt like ditching a PhD in computer science for doing this was probably worth it. And I stuck with it.
It's around the same time that we did the opposite. We were bringing DVDs from UK, from PAL, and then converting to NTSC, and you could get pirated stuff in the US, but we bought rights for DVD markets, and we didn't do streaming. We were not smart enough. Vijay was doing that. We were selling DVDs online, and we became the largest online retailer. And we still, a version of that continues today as DreamCricketStore.com. But Ashes 2004 was what gave us a break in the DVD market. Now, obviously, Willow TV ate our market 100%.
Mm.
because now you could watch everything live over
Yeah.
time. So that was my little journey. Now, obviously, at some point, you also got started finding sponsors, and there were ads on Willow TV, and you also did a deal with, I forget now, Dish or DirecTV, one of them.
Mm.
Was that immediate, or did that take a few years?
I think we were mostly a pay-per-view product till about, for 7 or 8 years, I'd say. Uh,
Hmm.
and again, around the 2010 time frame is when sort of there was enough of a awareness that the South Asian diaspora in this US was a worthwhile sort of segment for advertisers and products to target. And I think this tracked along with things like money transfer and insurance and health insurance and taking care of elderly parents and all of that. Um,
And those really
became
annoying astrology ads.
astrology. And I it
You
paid the
take it
bills.
from wherever you get it.
I have to say, but yeah, I mean, uh, I think it once we launched on TV, on satellite TV in 2010, and we went more from a pay-per-view sort of product to a linear 24 by 7 live cricket channel. I
Mhm.
think from there on, the ad advertising, component became very meaningful for us.
Right.
Um,
So in roughly like now talking 2008, dinosaurs had by then become extinct.
yes,
Streaming was a thing, and DVDs were gone and
yeah,
dead. And 2007, the World Cup ended badly for India, and T20 was born, T20 cricket. So
yes,
until that point, like if I used to work at Reuters, the news agency, and it was a British agency, but in the New York office, people still thought cricket was boring. It was played over 5 days, although there was a one-day format. And 2008, we started seeing the T20 format. And
yes,
I had, my website had grown to a size where I was actually selling equipment, and a lot of it. And I discovered playing communities across the country. And 2004, if you remember, there was already a pro cricket league that had kind of come to life and then quickly got extinguished.
yeah,
But 2009 or 10, 2009, I started a semi-pro cricket league here in New Jersey. That
mm,
had a 3-year existence. I think 2011 or 12 is when we shut it off. But for me, there was like this we could sustain some form of short form T20 semi-professional cricket league with intercity teams, and each city had one, professional player. That's my early foray into professional grade cricket. When did I mean, you obviously waited a bit longer, but you had much more solid data, robust data from Willow TV, to actually inform or guide you through the professionalization of cricket in the US. When did that happen? Was it like organic? Was it something you saw coming, or was it like, wow, I think the moment was always here, but you didn't have bandwidth, so you started when you started it.
yeah. No, I don't think we seriously started thinking about a professional league till after we exited Willow in 2016. But one of the things in that 2 year period after we exited Willow was that we felt like we had grown the media market for of cricket in the US from practically nothing to a very meaningful uh, you know piece of the global pie. Today it's like third or fourth largest, like I said. And it was also incredibly frustrating that all that money that consumers of cricket in the US were spending on cricket was going outside primarily to pay rights holders in the various major cricket playing countries around the world.
Mhm.
And honestly, nothing was going back into the US to develop the game here. And that seemed like a bit of a travesty, to be honest. And I think that's when we started thinking that, look, we are in the world's largest media market for sports, and we've got a meaningful audience that loves this sport, is attached to this as their number one sport, and there needs to be a presence for the game in this country. And that's when we started with the blueprint of cricket. And it wasn't just to launch a professional league. I mean, we felt like if we were doing something in this space, it would not be meaningful unless the US had was a meaningful participant in the global cricket ecosystem. And if you look at from the time we launched in 2019 to where the US team at that time, not too many people would even be able to speak of it. But today it's still what's called an associate member, which means it's one tier below the top full member ICC cricket playing countries. But the US has played in the last two T20 World Cups, hosted one, beaten a major full member in 24. And
Let's just
I
say it
think
was Pakistan that USA beat. So that,
and they happened to beat them in our stadium in Dallas.
yeah.
So and then there's a lot of players that a lot of people recognize. There's people like Saurabh Netravalkar, who became sort of a bit of a
Yeah,
sensation as
household
an
name.
Oracle engineer who also plays cricket at a very high level. So there's some really wonderful stories. Saurabh is just one of them. Um, but we wanted the quality of the US cricket pool to grow along with MLC, so that we've now, tomorrow, actually July 1st, we will play the first MLC game in Pomona in the LA area. It's a
That's the
brand new
new
venue,
Olympic cricket ground.
and that will be the venue for the LA 28 Olympics, which would have a US team in it as a host nation. So
Mhm.
I think these are all of. I mean, in 2019 we launched ACE, American Cricket Enterprises, and then in 23 it took us 4 years to launch the league. COVID happening in between, and despite all that, we were still able to build a stadium in that time frame, launch a league, bring 6 teams to it, bring some of the best players in the world to play in our first 4 seasons. All of these were sort of like, if you just look at our slides from back in 2019, these were things we said we would do. And
Mhm.
if it was just a bunch of PowerPoint, and honestly, I look back at that and I would probably have not invested in that thing. It's
Mhm.
just some two guys saying they'll bring a sport to this country, build stadiums, build a competitive US team, bring the World Cup here. We beat full member countries, and then all this would lead to potentially cricket being in the Olympics and so on. I mean, if even half of those things had come true, I'd be very happy. But all of them have happened. I mean, so
Mhm.
it's been an incredible effort. I mean, we had a truly sort of passionate set of people who believed in what we were pitching in 2019, you included, Venu. And we had an amazing team that executed on that. Um, and, but we haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
it's still a long ways to go. I mean, we've had a lot of like twists and turns. We've had setbacks. I mean, like any other startup league would have. But
Right.
I'd have to say some of the accomplishments are going to sort of remain with this team that pulled it off. And that's their legacy. And, I'm very happy to
What
be
brought us to
part
the
of that.
moment, though, is I think, first of all, the emergence of the South Asian demographic,
Yeah,
the dominance of India in the sport, this shift of center of gravity to India, the T20 format itself,
yes,
which is a 3.5 hour format, um, the access to cricket via Willow, thanks to Willow TV, and the emergence of grassroots cricket in the form of academies across the US, right? In New
yeah,
Jersey now, we have about 25 academies. DreamCricket was the first of those.
yeah,
But if you look at the first cohort of cricketers that joined our academy, that includes Sai Tejamukamala, who's now playing MLC, or
yeah,
Jesse Singh, who's playing MLC. And so it kind of like all of these happened in various parts of the country, and all of them converged to this point in time where MLC has players that are domestic. US has a team that's now like, knocking on the door and waiting to like join, the top shelf, top league, if you will. Because 20 years ago we were like fifth division, right? And now we're like second division, if you want to think of it
yeah,
that
yeah,
way. And as luck would have it, Olympics is coming, and yesterday the ICC announced that USA men will play in the Olympics if they retain their current ranking, and
yep,
USA women have a chance if they crack top 15. And
yes.
that's immense. If that happens, I think it'll really lift the profile of cricket in this country. So what I also wanted to like, give you a shout out for is it would have been easy for MLC to say, well, we're going to just do professional grade cricket. That's about it. But the effort that went into developing grassroots cricket, in fact, the feeder, which is the minor league, which is a 26 team semi-pro league that was also founded under the MLC umbrella, that also speaks volumes for like, it's not just the end product, it's the overall product that, MLC cares about.
Yeah.
So what is next for MLC? So you said, well, this is still very early, and I understand it is. We are 3 years in, but we have three stadiums now. US as a team is picking up thanks to all of the efforts of MLC and the semi-pro league as well. But now there's an aspirational class of cricketers in the country, but it's still very South Asian. So what happens next?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, firstly, I think you're being very modest, Venu. I mean, when you guys launched Dream Cricket Academy, it was purely a, a, a passion project for you guys, and you were you were teaching cricket to kids who honestly didn't, there was no real pathway for them. I mean, you were teaching cricket just purely for the love of, the fact that you wanted to spread the game that you grew up with to the first generation of kids born in the US who did not have that opportunity. And the fact that players like Sai, who went through your system and just did it because they loved the game, not because they saw MLC as, because there was no MLC, there was no minor league, there was no MLC, there's probably no US team worth aiming to
Right.
get into, but they still did it. And then we come in, and now they have opportunities. I mean, Sai and his compatriots are playing with some of the best players in the world in MLC. I mean, they, I mean, and they, that's sort of the reward for what they put into it. But now the academy system is at a point where at least you can show kids a pathway that, look, you play with this, that there's a junior system that you can compete at a very high level. There's tournaments happening across the country. There's opportunities for these teams to even go outside the US and play. And then ultimately there's an opportunity to play, if you are the cream of the crop, you can play in Major
Professionally.
League Cricket, and that opens the door to potentially franchise cricket in other parts of the world.
Mhm.
What is missing is a pathway to say, hey, I want to play in college in the US, and I want uh, cricket to be, something that helps me get into college potentially, or helps me play on a college team. And but that's missing right now.
Mhm.
I'll be completely candid. I
And
think,
and perhaps, and I'm going to
yeah,
test you on this, perhaps an MLC for women.
definitely an MLC for women would be a very reasonable thing for us uh, to look at. I mean, a lot of the if you just look at the U.S. women's team, it's probably the youngest set of players in the world of cricket. I mean, these are,
Mhm.
I would venture to guess, Venu, and you're far more of an expert than I am in this space because you've developed a lot of these young women who play cricket in the U.S. They, the majority, if not every single player on this US team learned their cricket in the US for the they
That is
didn't
right. Yeah.
play cricket in some other part of the world and then come here and become part of the US team, which is also perfectly fine. But it's amazing that practically every player learned the game here, developed the game here, and are now competing with some of the best in the world. And honestly, I believe it's only a matter of opportunity. I mean, the more times these players can play against the best teams in the world, the better they get, or
Mhm.
play alongside the best players in the world. And a professional league for women in the US would be one of those things. But we've got a lot of things that we still need to complete. We've got many venues that we are looking at. We've got venues being looked at in the Washington D.C. area, in Seattle, in New York, and we've got the ones in Dallas and LA completed at this point. But we've got 6 teams in the league. We are adding 2 teams next season, and we are looking to have venues in all of these home markets. So venues is a big part of this, um, and I think our we are like
That's why Venue is moderating this panel.
and, and so
Dad joke, sorry.
the 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 other piece is, we want to keep contributing to the growth of the US teams, both men and women.
Mhm.
They are not still competing with the best in the world. They are still, like you said, playing largely their cricket at the associate level.
Mhm.
So finding more opportunities to compete against the best teams in the world. And from there you obviously go to the next obvious step, which is a very competitive US team, uh, and a full home and away format for our league, um, with a robust sort of feeder system of minor league and the academies under it. Um, I mean, that's sort of like my utopian sort of vision of where this is. Uh, you know, are we there in 5 years, 8 years? I don't know. But I
But
think
it's definitely happening for the audience here. What MLC has done has inspired so many to invest into cricket. And again, to illustrate that, New Jersey is an expensive real estate market. And we just acquired 18 acres to build a world-class cricket ground in New Jersey. And Dream Cricket actually is doing that. I'm doing that. Um, and I could not do it alone. And I could not do it if there was no MLC or if USA was not, world beating, champion team. All of the folks that are investing into cricket are doing now because they've seen the picture that was painted by MLC and they see that they could also be part of that canvas somehow. And that is why we are able to raise the millions of dollars that we were able to raise to acquire the land and like to start the project here. Um, and it's happening around the country. Uh, it's explosive, the growth of cricket. I know we have about 10 minutes left, so maybe we spend the remaining time taking questions. And
sure.
if there are already questions, perhaps Parul, you can um, flag them. but I do have one or two rapid fires I can ask in the meanwhile while we wait.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear
Sure.
the rapid
Okay.
fire.
So what is the biggest lesson that cricket can learn from soccer? One lesson.
I mean, I think if you look at the where soccer was in the mid 90s when the World Cup came to the US then, and then shortly after that was when sort of MLS was formed, and soccer's just done an amazing job sort of picking up on that momentum and then taking it's probably bringing it to the grassroots with the kids. I think our trajectory, I mean, we are where soccer was at that same time frame, maybe give or take. And I think they've given us a blueprint of what it takes to make a sport successful in this country. And I think we just need to sit in if we can just follow what
Replicate that.
soccer has done. I mean, every lesson they've done has been a perfect model for the sport of cricket. And I think what you see today with the U.S. men's team and the women's teams in soccer, and how competitive and how they are able to present themselves on the world stage, and how successful MLS has been. I think we would, if we can get a fraction of that, I think we would be truly like a immensely successful new league in this country.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, soccer also started as an immigrant sport
It did.
in the modern era in 1992 when the World Cup came here. So the World Cup of cricket came here only a year ago. So I guess 10, 20 years from now, maybe we compress that time frame to 5 to 10 years. If we can get to, you know, s- something that soccer has achieved over the
Yes.
last decade, it'd be fantastic. Um, Parul, do you have any questions there?
Yeah, we actually have quite a few questions in the chat. And then if anyone else has questions, if you want to raise your hand, you can click the react button and then there's like a raise hand button. We can kind of do it that way. But in the meantime, I'll have one question was from Harshal. Harshal, do you wanna come off mute and ask your question that you put in?
Thank you so much, Parul. I might do that. So thank you, Mr. Srinivasan, for the stories, and Mr. Venu as well. Now, my question to you was regarding, the 2024 World Cup that we had, right? And the drop in pitches that we had, if I'm not mistaken, from Sydney. But what happened was it was a lot about high scoring thrillers. People were expecting something like this, and it turned out to be the other way. And with the stadiums, we have quite a few now in the States, but compared to some other countries who are playing very well. How do you see it moving forward with the stadiums and with the pitches, like curated with curators here making their own pitches, something like pitches of USA, maybe more turn or more bounce, etc. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for your question, Harshil. It's a very technical one. I mean, and I'm not the guy, by any means to fully answer that. But, in the world of cricket, whether you use built-in or drop-in pitches, I mean, both have been equally successful. I think the issue with the World Cup in 24 was those pitches were brought in and all of that happened in a very short period of time. There wasn't enough time for them to really settle. And but I'll give you another tidbit. We didn't let those pitches go to waste. We actually took immense effort and millions of dollars of cost. We moved those pitches from New York and actually have them here at the Oakland Coliseum. We've used them for 2 seasons of MLC. And if you look at the scores and of the MLC games
They're
on
doing all
those
right.
exactly same
Yeah.
pitches, they've been very different.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, this is hats off to our MLC team. They are amazing. I think they've just done a phenomenal job of advancing the knowledge of building pitches in this country enormously from what was there before. So we have built-in pitches in our stadium in Dallas. We've got built-in pitches in our brand new venue in LA. We've got drop-in pitches in Oakland, and we are equally comfortable with everything. And so, again, I'm glad you brought that up, because the science of cricket and its pitches is as important to anything that for a successful sport to happen. Unfortunately for cricket, it's one of these sports that's very sensitive to things like pitches and grass and whatnot. And a lot of other sports are, and the size of our fields are very unique with this massive oval and all of those things. And we've had to battle through all of that. So, that's one of the challenges of bringing cricket to the US. But we've got enormous sort of wealth of knowledge on our team, and they've been using it really well. But
Yeah.
great question. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Parul, who's next?
Yeah, we have Raheel. Raheel, do you want to ask your question that you put in the chat?
Yep, for sure. Thanks so much for such an insightful talk. I think something I was curious about was the exposure of cricket and the rise of it in the US is really interesting. And I think something that I myself am curious about is whether that's kind of like a opportunity to kind of also provide exposure to other South Asian diaspora athletes or South Asian athletes in other sports where we may be underrepresented, if that makes sense.
I didn't quite understand that.
Let me rephrase it. So yeah, I mean, actually, let me answer that, because I actually,
Go for
in
it.
the academy, Raheel, we do have kids who play two sports. And that's a thing in the US anyway. So people have a winter sport and a fall sport, or a summer sport and a fall sport. And yes, they do. But at some point, cricket takes over. That does not mean they're not playing another sport. Now, having said that, I don't know if you've been following the news, but just yesterday, I think, Vijay will correct me, Liam Plunkett, who is a British fast bowler, had moved to the US some years ago. He was a cricketer, and yesterday he pitched in a professional baseball game. So this athletic prowess translates easily. If you can play cricket, you probably can take your skill to another sport. Rahul, you're next.
Thank you. Future women's captain here, getting a little prepped, so apologize there. But my question is very specific in the development side of the game. I come from the MLS, and which really particular targeting towards youth demographics helped break the sport out of this sort of niche concept of, immigrants love football. Are you finding success in courting non-Desis into the pipeline, into the performance side? And obviously changing demographics are a huge part of, in my opinion, MLS's success. But how are you viewing this, and what's working?
Vijay, you want to do that?
I mean, look, honestly, I mean, very candidly, I think where we are right now is very, very early days. I mean, we've just launched our audiences are primarily the South Asian diaspora in the US. The US team is actually a pretty good, men's team especially is a pretty good mix of both South Asians, but also players who learned their cricket in other parts of the world and then brought those skills to the US. Like we've got some South Africans, we've got some Australians who and people from New Zealand and so on who elected to move their family to the US and establish themselves here. But I think what you're asking is, what's it going to take for young kids of non-South Asian descent to try their hand at cricket? And I think, honestly, MLC is the way to go there. I mean, in the sense that, oftentimes, I mean, if you watch our broadcast in Dallas, you'll have like a casual American baseball fan who happened to walk into one of our cricket games and ends up loving the sport. I think this sport has to speak for itself. I mean, end of the day, T20 cricket is truly a very fun and, you know, action-packed experience. But I think cricket still has a lot to do here. I mean, right now, if I were a young kid and I was looking at the pathway opportunities for going to college and so on, a sport like tennis or golf or basketball would give me a much better path than cricket would. So unless those pieces come together, I don't think you're going to get the best athletes picking cricket when they can pick another sport and go much further with it. I mean, I think it takes two things. Firstly, kids have to love the sport. I think cricket can give you that, but then the sport has to give you something back. And if that's not there, I think it's a two-way street. And I think cricket still needs to do the second piece. Hey, if you as a young player choose cricket as your number one sport, like Venu was saying, what's in it for you? Obviously I mean, and like all of us know, in this country, once kids take up a sport seriously, and I think Neha, you know this, it takes over your life. I mean, you really have to put a lot into it. It's hours out of your day. You still have to study. You still have to do all of it. And so, you want to see a nice reward at the end of it. And Rahul, I'm not sitting here saying that cricket is the best choice for a young kid.
But I see Rahul's baby. She has time, so I think it will be there.
But I think it can come together. I mean, we spoke about those components, but all of that.
I have a different angle. Obviously, because I run an academy, and a lot of kids come in and they apply to colleges, and they, in their college essays, they mention cricket, and cricket teaches you leadership. And for a variety of reasons, there are now corporate icons like Satya. They talk about cricket wherever they go. There are actually, within the academy, there are folks who are playing in MLC. So there are role models that are developing. So what is happening as a consequence of that? Actually, the students in my academy have started cricket clubs in their schools. And so my son did that too some years ago. He went to a private school here called Rutgers Prep. And very soon there were 70 kids, and only about 10 were South Asian extract. The rest of them were, Americans. And who doesn't like to swing a bat at a ball? I mean, they loved it. And he did a tournament, and a Chinese American was the MVP in that tournament. So this is just, you need catalysts, and catalysts, like Vijay was a catalyst for broadcast cricket. And, I did my bit, and now the next generation will do their bit, and it'll grow from there. I think it's gradual, organic, not a big bang. But having role models helps, having professional cricketers helps, having USA on the map helps. All of that stuff will get us there. Yogesh, I see your hand raised.
I think also Vijay has to go. He just said in the chat, right, Vijay? You have somewhere to go. Sorry, just want to be mindful.
I need to head out. I have about a 30-minute drive, and I'm about 5 minutes late leaving. But we can take one more question, and then if that's okay, wrap it up.
Yes.
Yeah, Vijay, I was actually at NC State also when you started as a freshman. I was there between 86 and 1990. And funny story, I was at the gym, if you remember the big gym. I was inside the gym, and there was the guy who was working behind the desk. He looks at me, says, "Do you know anything about cricket?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm from South Asia. I know cricket." He goes, "We have all this equipment that the university has purchased, and we don't know what to do with it."
Yeah.
So he says, "Can you help me?" It was a completely random question that I got asked. This was back in I'm pretty sure it was in 1988 when I got asked the question.
Is that right?
So I said, "Leave it with me. I'll figure it out." There was the Technician newspaper, if you remember that.
Yes. Yeah,
I posted a little advert on there, and I said, "Show up at this location at this time. Whoever wants to play cricket, I've got all the equipment." Took all the equipment, 20 plus guys showed up. There were some, Sri Lankans, some Pakistanis, some Indians, a couple of, South Africans, and maybe I think a New Zealander as well. And we started playing cricket on the weekends at NC State. That's how we started at NC State back in '88. So,
That's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah.
Great way to finish today.
Hmm?
You came back full
Thank you for
circle.
sharing that. I played, I set up the intramural club when I was an undergrad there, and
Yeah, you took it to the next level. That's great.
I just love being part of, playing cricket in college, and
Oh yeah.
thanks for sharing that, Yogesh.
He's
Yeah,
taken
so
it another level, definitely.
yeah,
Not
sorry
just at
about
NCSU. Cool. On that note,
yeah.
Parul, back to you. You can wrap
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much, Vijay and Venu, for doing this, taking the time out. I know it's extremely busy right now, but this was an amazing conversation. So really appreciate you joining us and being a part of South Asians in Sports. And thank you so much to everyone else who joined the call. We'll send up a follow up email after this with the link to the recording if you ever want to look back on it. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care
Thank
now.
you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.